Think and Grow Rich: The Way to Personal Achievement. Napoleon Hill. Main theme: all achievement, including every fortune ever built, have their beginning in an idea. The wealth comes from turning the idea from something we can see in our mind's eye alone into something that serves other people, and for which they are willing to pay. This is done through autosuggestion, organized planning, mastermind association, and an inner harmony between the thoughts of your mind and the actions and achievements of your life. You literally become and achieve what you think about all day long. To control your life, control your thoughts. 1. Thoughts are things. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, man is capable of bringing into reality. 2. Desire: there are no limitations except those we set ourselves. Both poverty and riches are the direct results of our thoughts. 3. Faith: ideas are being transformed into huge fortunes all around us, using the medium of faith. You can join that group of people with great achievements. 4. The sixth sense. Creative part of the mind, creating hunches and inspiration, can be enhanced and refined. 5. Autosuggestion. Man is the master of his own destiny because he has the power to influence what he thinks about using the techniques of autosuggestion. 6. Specialized knowledge. The intelligent direction of specialized knowledge is the most frequent way of amassing wealth. 7. The brain capable of both broadcasting and receiving thoughts directly to or from other people. 8. Imagination. The imagination is the workshop in which all plans can be fashioned and prepared for action. 9. Decision. Successful people have the habit of reaching decisions quickly and changing them slowly, if ever. Successful people have conquered procrastination. 10. Organized planning. Everything created begins in the form of desires, which are taken into the workshop of the imagination for proper organization and planning. 11. Power of the mastermind. You automatically take on the habits and power of the people you associate with. Control this by forming a mastermind group who can assist you to achieve your dreams. 12. Persistence. Willpower. Desire and persistence are essential for the transmuting of desires into monetary equivalents. 13. The mystery of sex. Transmutation. Sex transmutation involves the transfer of sex desire into a motivating force for financial achievement. 14. The subconscious mind, a vast reservoir storing every impulse or thought received through the 5 senses. 15. The 6 ghosts of fear. The master key that unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches is the privilege of creating in your own mind a burning desire to achieve. The satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever they demand is overwhelming. 1. Thoughts are things. Main idea. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, man can achieve. Supporting ideas. Thoughts are very powerful when mixed with a definiteness of purpose and a burning desire for their translation into riches or other material objects. A man by the name of Edwin Barnes once turned up at Thomas Edison's business and announced he had come to go into business with the inventor. Thomas Edison later said, "He stood there before me like an ordinary tramp, but there was something about the expression of his face which conveyed the impression he was determined to get what he had come after." I had learned from years of experience that when a man really desires something so deeply that he's willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. I gave him the opportunity he asked for because I saw he had made up his mind to stand by until he succeeded. Subsequent events proved no mistake had been made. In other words, an intangible impulse of thought can be transmuted into material rewards by the application of known principles. You can start with nothing except the capacity to know what you want and add determination to realize your desires. To do this, you have to overcome the habit of quitting when overtaken by temporary defeat. Before success comes in any person's life, they are sure to meet with temporary defeat and perhaps some failure. Often, Success comes just one step beyond the point at which defeat has overtaken you. All you have to do is to hang on in there. The answer you may be seeking to the questions raised by experiences in your life may be found in your own mind. One sound idea is all you need to achieve success. When riches begin to come, they come so quickly and in such great abundance that you'll be wondering where they had been hiding for all those lean years. Riches actually begin with a state of mind and definiteness of purpose, with little or no work. One of the main weaknesses of mankind is the average man's familiarity with the word impossible. He knows all the rules that won't work, and all the things that can't be done. Success comes to those who become success conscious, or those who are obsessed with success. Failure comes to those who allow themselves to be failure conscious. Another common weakness is the habit of measuring everyone and everything by our own experiences. We can foolishly believe that our own limitations are the exact measure of everyone else's limitations. Every person is the master of their own fate, because everyone has the power to control what they think about. Brains become magnetized by the dominating thoughts that are held in the mind. These magnets attract the forces, the people and the circumstances of life which harmonize with the nature of the most dominating thoughts too. Desire, main idea. There are no limitations except those we set ourselves. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought, supporting ideas. Burn your bridges behind you whenever you decide on a definite course of action or have a definitive goal to work towards. Make it impossible to go back any way except victorious. When you cut off all possible sources of retreat, you unleash creative powers within your soul that you never knew existed. Every human being who reaches the age of understanding of the purpose of money wishes for more of it, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, planning definite ways and means to acquire riches and backing those plans with persistence that does not recognize failure will bring riches. The method by which a desire for riches can be transmuted into its financial equivalent is 1. Fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire, not a vague general term, but an exact amount. 2. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return for that amount of money. Remember, there's no such thing as a free lunch or something for nothing. 3. Establish a definite date by which you intend to possess the amount of money you desire. 4. Create a definite plan for carrying out that desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not, to put that plan into action. 5. Write a clear, concise statement of the amount, by when, and your plan for how you will achieve it. 6. Read your written statement aloud each day when you arise in the morning, in the middle of the day, and before retiring for the night. As you read, visualize yourself already having achieved your goal. If you truly desire money so keenly that desire becomes an obsession, and visualize yourself already in possession, you'll become determined to have it. All those who have accumulated great fortunes throughout history first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, planning, and visualizing, all before they actually acquired their fortunes. Definiteness of purpose and burning desire to posses, it made all the difference. The real leaders of the world have always been those people who could convert their thoughts into skyscrapers, factories, airplanes, and everything else. The great pioneers of the past did exactly that. For example, Thomas Edison dreamed of a lamp operated by electricity, and despite 10,000 failures, he stood by that dream until he made it a physical reality. Practical dreamers don't quit. The world today is filled with an abundance of opportunity which the dreamers of the past never knew. All those who succeed in life get off to a bad start and pass through many heartbreaking struggles before they arrive. Often, the turning point in their lives comes at the moment of greatest crisis, when they seem to discover hidden sources of strength. 3. Faith. Main ideas are translated into huge fortunes all around you every day. Using the medium of faith, you can join that group of people whose achievements know no bounds. Supporting ideas, faith is the head chemist of the mind. The emotions of faith, love, and sex are the most powerful of all the major positive emotions. When the three are blended together, thoughts reach the subconscious, where they are changed into their spiritual equivalent, the only form that can receive instruction from the infinite intelligence. In actuality, however, faith is a state of mind which can be created by repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. Faith is a state of mind which you can influence and develop at will through the repetition of affirmations. All thoughts which have been emotionalized, given feeling, and then mixed with faith begin immediately to transform themselves into their physical equivalent or counterpart. This works just as readily for negative thoughts as for positive thoughts. Millions of people feel themselves destined to be poor or failures because of some strange force over which they have no control. In this way, people are programming their subconscious minds with negative material. And right on cue, that's what they achieve. Perfection of this principle comes through practice. It cannot come by merely reading instructions. A mind dominated by positive emotions becomes a favorable place for the state of mind known as faith. Faith can be likened to an eternal elixir, which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. Faith is the starting point of all riches. It's well known that a person finally comes to believe whatever is repeated to them enough times, whether the statement is true or not. In fact, every person becomes whatever they are because of the dominating thoughts they permit to occupy their mind. The thoughts anyone deliberately puts into their minds and nourishes with intense emotions constitute the motivating forces directing and controlling every movement, act, and deed. These thoughts are almost like a magnetic force attracting other similar or related thoughts. The human mind is constantly attracting vibrations which harmonize with the thoughts held in one's own mind. Our own thoughts seem to attract a host of like thoughts, which add to the strength and overwhelming dominance of the central thought. The key point is that any plan, purpose, or idea may be placed in the mind through repetition. That's why you should write down your chief aim and repeat it audibly, day after day, until these vibrations of sound reach your subconscious mind. This way, you're throwing off the influence of stray thoughts or other influences which come along by chance. This principle can be used to build self-confidence by memorizing and repeating aloud the following or similar statements. 1. I know I have the ability to achieve anything I demand of myself, and I here promise to render persistent and continuous action towards my goals. 2. I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward, physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes each day on the task of creating in my mind a clear picture of the person I want to become. 3. I know that any desire I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means. Therefore, I will spend 10 minutes per day demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. 4. I have a clearly written description of my chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I have developed sufficient self-confidence to attain it. 5. I realize no wealth can endure if it is built on a base of injustice. Therefore, I will engage in no transactions which don't benefit all the parties involved. I will cause others to believe in me and work with me, because I will believe in them and work with them, and I will believe in myself. Now sign your name to the formula. Commit it to memory and repeat it aloud at least once a day, believing that it will gradually influence your thoughts and actions. Remember, all impulses of thought have a tendency to clothe themselves in their physical equivalent. The subconscious mind makes no distinctions between constructive or destructive thoughts. It will translate either into reality. Therefore, guard carefully what you think about. Somewhere in everyone's minds lies the seeds of achievement, which, if aroused and put into action, can carry that person to heights they never hoped to attain. Often falling into true love is the force which awakens that sleeping genius. Ideas are constantly being translated into huge fortunes all around you constantly. Giant organizations are created in the minds of one or two men before they are translated into reality. Riches begin in the form of thoughts. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into action. Faith removes limitations. Remember this when you bargain with life for whatever you ask as your price for having passed this way. For the sixth sense main idea. The sixth sense is the apex of the philosophy and can only be understood after mastering all other principles. Supporting ideas, the sixth sense actually defies description. It is the creative mind, or that part of the mind that receives hunches or inspiration. Understanding of the sixth sense actually comes through meditation and mental development from within. Science has never accurately decided on the exact location of the source of the sixth sense. However, it is accepted that some people have a more highly refined sixth sense than others. The ability to use your sixth sense can clearly be enhanced. Try this as an exercise to develop a sixth sense. 1. Pick some people who you have admired for their achievements. These can be historical figures, for example, who embodied principles you'd like to have in your own life. Some frequently admired people include Abraham Lincoln, Napoleon, Henry Ford, Dale Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Winston Churchill, and so on. Pick out about 9 or 10 people. 2. Just before going to sleep each night, sit in a quiet place where you can be alone with your thoughts. Imagine sitting in a council with these men and women. Imagine you are discussing with each of these people how to build a character that is a composite of the best traits of every person in the group. 3. This will create a fertile environment for self-suggestion, the principle by which characters are built. This will then lead to the transmuting of desire into reality. 4. Specifically address each of the people in your mind's eye and ask their advice on how to develop similar character qualities. Ask them to influence you through your sixth sense. Let each of them develop their own imagined personality and character traits as you mentally visit with them. Study and read all you can about each man to increase your depth of understanding about their lives. Soon, you will have a highly developed sixth sense, through which numerous pieces of advice and inspiration will come. You'll find uncanny experiences occurring which tie in with these imaginary council meetings. You'll also find you increase your receptiveness to ideas. Thought and Nold 5. Autosuggestion, main idea. Every adversity, every failure and every heartache carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Autosuggestion is the technique by which you can guide and stimulate your subconscious. Supporting ideas, autosuggestion is the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. It is self-suggestions which reach the mind through the 5 senses. It's also the avenue of communication between the part of the mind where conscious thoughts take place and that which serves as the seat of action. Through the dominating thoughts, which one permits to remain in the subconscious mind, the principle of autosuggestion reaches the subconscious and influences it. Man has absolute control over the material, which reaches the subconscious through the 5 senses. This happens automatically, whether we like it or not. We can either take a positive approach and influence our minds positively, or neglect to do anything and leave the subconscious to be filled by random negative thoughts. It makes sense to take a proactive stance. The challenge is to create thought habits which are favorable to your efforts to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. For example, you can read aloud twice a day a written statement of your desire for money and visualize yourself already in possession of that amount of money. The mere reading of the words is of no consequence unless you mix it with emotion. Remember, there's no such thing as something for nothing. The price of the ability to influence your subconscious is everlasting persistence in applying the principles. You alone must decide whether the achieving your goals is worth the price you must pay in effort. Your ability to use autosuggestion will depend on your capacity to concentrate on a given desire until it becomes a burning obsession. The subconscious takes orders given to it and acts on them in absolute faith. Reality doesn't concern it. Only thoughts, ideas, and emotions. Try to visualize yourself already in possession of the amount of money you desire. Picture it clearly and vividly in minute detail. Expect your subconscious to deliver the actual plan to achieve that wealth. Create a definite plan and begin at once to put that plan into action. Then start visualizing yourself rendering the service or delivering the merchandise to stimulate your subconscious mind. 1. Go to a quiet spot, close your eyes, and read aloud the written statement of the amount of money you intend to accumulate, the time limit for its accumulation, and a description of the service or merchandise you intend to give in return for the money. 2. Include in your statement an expectation that your subconscious will deliver the plan to follow, and a commitment to follow that plan when it is received. 3. Repeat aloud the statement every morning and every night. 4. Place a written copy of your statement where you'll see it every morning and every night. Read it just before arising and just before retiring for the night. Memorize it. 5. Add as much emotion as you possibly can. Write your statement so the creative juices start flowing whenever you read it. Skepticism is normal at first, but if you follow the instructions, you'll soon find a whole universe of power opening up to your vision. Man is the master of his own destiny because he has the power to influence his subconscious mind. Transmuting desire into reality involves the use of autosuggestion as an agency or a tool to influence your subconscious. 6. Specialized knowledge. Main idea. Specialized knowledge is one of the keys to amassing a fortune. The intelligent application of specialized knowledge is the most frequent way of creating wealth. Supporting ideas. Knowledge can be either specialized or general. General knowledge is of little use in accumulating money. Generating large fortunes comes from the organization or use of specialized knowledge. Knowledge alone, however, won't attract money unless it's intelligently directed and organized through practical action. Knowledge is, in essence, potential power. It only becomes actual power when organized into plans of action directed to a specific end. The word educate means to adduce, to draw out, or to develop from within. An educated man does not necessarily have an abundance of specialized or general knowledge. An educated man is one who has so developed the faculties of his mind that he can acquire anything he wants, or its equivalent, without violating the rights of others. An educated man knows where to get knowledge when he needs it, and more significantly, how to organize that knowledge into a plan of action, to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent. You require specialized knowledge of the service, merchandise, or profession which you intend to offer in return for fortune. The accumulation of riches calls for power, and power is acquired only through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. Interestingly, that knowledge does not necessarily need to be in the possession of the man who accumulates a fortune. Successful men never stop acquiring specialized knowledge relating to their major purpose, business, or profession. Both success and failure are the result of habit. There is no fixed price for sound ideas. Behind all ideas is specialized knowledge. There is always a demand for people capable of helping others sell their personal services advantageously. Capability means imagination, the quality needed to combine specialized knowledge with ideas in the form of structured plans designed to yield riches. 7. The brain. Main idea. Every human brain is capable of picking up vibrations of thought sent out by other brains. The subconscious is the transmitting side of the brain. The creative imagination is the receiving side. Autosuggestion is the medium by which you put into operation the broadcasting side of your mind. Supporting ideas. All of us are controlled by intangible forces which are unseen. For example, no one has ever seen gravity, or the force behind the waves at the seaside. No one can say why the earth provides food for the people on it, yet everyone is under the influence of these unseen forces. The power of the mind is similar. It has been determined that every human brain has between 10,000 and 14,000 million nerve cells. and there are 1 billion million lines connecting brain cells with each other. It's not impossible that at least some of these lines and cells should be solely for the purpose of communicating with other minds or other intangible forces. Key thought: the ladder of success is never crowded at the top. 8. Imagination, main idea. The imagination is the workshop of the mind where plans are fashioned. Any impulse or desire starts to take shape and form through the imaginative faculty of the mind. Man can create anything that he can imagine. Man's only limitation lies in the development and use of his imagination. Supporting ideas, the two forms of imagination are: 1. Synthetic actually creates nothing new, but arranges concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. 2. Creative through hunches and inspiration. The mind becomes attuned to the subconscious minds of other people. Most great leaders become great through development of their creative imaginations. To develop this type of imaginative faculty, think about these principles. 1. Creative faculties become more alert with frequent use. 2. Have a definite purpose magnified by a burning desire to transform desire into reality. 3. Visualize yourself already in possession of your goal. Think carefully and fully about all the individual benefits you'll enjoy. 4. Remember that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of definite purpose and specific plans. 5. There is no standard price for ideas. The creator of an idea sets his own price, and if he's smart, gets exactly that. 6. The story of almost every great fortune began on the day a creator of ideas and a seller of ideas got together and decided to work together in unison towards a common goal. 7. When an idea is first born, it must be coaxed, nursed, and enticed to remain alive. However, it soon begins to take on its own power and sweeps aside all opposition. 8. Ideas are tangible forces. They have more power than the physical brain that created them. They even have immortality, the ability to live on long after the death of the person that originally created them. 9. Decision, main idea. Procrastination. The lack of a definite decision is a common enemy that every successful person must conquer. People who are successful have the habit of reaching decisions promptly and changing those decisions slowly, if ever. Supporting ideas, the majority of people who fail to accumulate money sufficient for their needs are generally easily influenced by the opinions of others. If you're like this, you'll have no desires of your own. Keep your own counsel, taking no one into your confidence outside your own mastermind group. You have a brain and a mind which should be used to reach decisions. Those who talk too much generally do little else. Genuine wisdom is usually conspicuous through modesty and silence. When you open your mouth in the presence of another skilled person, you're disclosing your plans and purposes. You may be unpleasantly surprised that others will take your plan and beat you to the punch. A guiding principle should be to tell the world what you intend to do by doing it. Thoughts, backed by strong desire, have a tendency to transmute themselves into their physical equivalent. Those who know what they want reach decisions firmly and definitely and get what they want. The world has a habit of making room for the man whose words and actions show that he knows where he's going. Definiteness of decision always requires courage. For example, any person making a decision to acquire the type of job he wants and to make life pay the price he asks stakes his economic freedom on that decision. Financial independence is not within the reach of a person who refuses to plan for and demand it. 10. Organized planning. Main idea. Everything man can create or acquire first begins in the form of a desire. Desire is the first part of the journey from the abstract to the actual. It's in the workshop of imagination that plans are created and organized, supporting ideas to build plans which are practical. 1. Ally yourself with a group of as many people as you will need along the way. The mastermind principle. 2. Consider the advantages you offer others who join your group. 3. Meet with your mastermind group at least twice a week. 4. Maintain perfect harmony within the group. Nobody can accumulate a great fortune without other people. If your first plan fails, replace it with another. This point marks the junction between those who persist until successful and those who would like to be a success if it isn't too much trouble. The most intelligent person alive cannot succeed in accumulating money without plans that are practical and workable. When plans fail, the temporary defeat is not permanent failure. Your achievement can be no greater than the soundness of your plans. Temporary defeat simply means something is wrong with that plan and another should be developed. No man is ever whipped until he quits in his own mind. A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. Intelligent planning is essential for success in any undertaking designed to accumulate wealth. Most great leaders begin as great followers. They often become great leaders because they were intelligent followers. An intelligent follower takes the opportunity to acquire knowledge from his leader. The major attributes of leadership are: 1. Unwavering courage, the self-confidence to follow the right course at all costs. 2. Self-control, the man who cannot control himself can never control others. 3. Sense of justice, to command and retain the respect of others. 4. Definiteness of decision, nobody confidently follows anyone who wavers from day to day. 5. Definite plans, planning the work and working the plan. 6. Doing more than you are paid for. The leader is ever willing to do more than he requires of his followers. 7. A pleasing personality. Leadership requires respect, which is always linked to positive personality traits. 8. Sympathy and understanding, both essentials for leaders. 9. Mastery of details, both small and large. 10. Willingness to assume responsibility for the performance of every member of the team. 11. Cooperation. The combined efforts of the group are larger than the efforts of every member of the team. How to get any position you require. 1. Decide exactly what kind of job you want. Remember, if the job does not currently exist, you can create it. 2. Choose the company for which you'd like to work. 3. Study your prospective employer. 4. Figure out what you specifically have to offer that company, and in particular the person in charge. 5. Forget whether they currently have a job for you. Concentrate solely on what you can give them. 6. Prepare a written presentation outlining your proposal. 7. Present your plan to the person who can make a decision. Show them how employing you will benefit their company. The key to the success of this method is to show that the return on the capital they would invest by hiring and paying you is more than covered by the additional profits you will generate for that business. Steamships and railroads don't spring up from the earth and function automatically. They come in response to the call of civilization through the labor, ingenuity, and organizing ability of men who have imagination, faith, enthusiasm, decisiveness, and persistence. These men are known as capitalists. They're motivated by the desire to build, construct, achieve, render useful service, earn profits, and accumulate riches. And because they render service without which there would not be any civilization, they put themselves in a position to accumulate great riches. The only dependable way to accumulate a fortune is by rendering useful service. No system has ever been created by which men can legally acquire riches through mere force of numbers without giving in. Return an equivalent value in one form or another. Opportunity spreads its wares before you. All you need to do is select what you want, create a plan, put the plan into action, and follow through with persistence. Capitalism will do the rest. Every person has the opportunity to provide service in some form or another, and every person collects returns that are in direct proportion to the service they offer. Key thought: success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis. 11. Power of the mastermind main idea. Men take on the habits and the power of thought of those they associate themselves with in a spirit of harmony and sympathy. If you form a mastermind group with people who can move you towards your goal, you'll get there faster than you ever thought possible. Supporting ideas power, organized and intelligently directed knowledge, is essential for success in accumulating money. Plans are useless without sufficient power to translate them into action. Power is also necessary for the retention of money once accumulated. Power can come from 1. Infinite intelligence, which can be contacted through the creative imagination. 2. Accumulated experience, either in books or through other ways of learning the things other people have already done. 3. Experiment and research the gathering, classifying, and organizing of new facts firsthand. You can enhance all these efforts through a mastermind group. The concept is to surround yourself with people who can give advice, counsel, and personal cooperation. This form of cooperative alliance has been the basis of nearly every great fortune. When your mental efforts combine with those of the group, you also create a pool of experience that amplifies the abilities of each member. Money must be wooed and won by methods not unlike those used by a lover. The positive emotions of thought are like a stream that will carry you to a great fortune. The negative emotions form the other side of the stream and can carry you away from riches. The mastermind group serves as an oar by which you propel yourself from one side of the stream to the other. This happens through use and application, not just thinking about it. Key thought: happiness is found in doing, not merely in possessing. 12. Persistence main idea. Persistence is essential in transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent. Willpower and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair. Supporting ideas, most people stand ready to abandon their goals at the first sign of trouble. Few carry on despite all opposition until they attain their goal. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Fortunes gravitate to men whose minds have been prepared to attract them. Poverty is also attracted to those whose minds are favorable to it. You can either develop a poverty consciousness or a wealth consciousness. The choice is yours. Persistence is essential. Without this single quality, you're defeated before you even begin. Select your mastermind group to include at least one person who can help you develop persistence. Those with persistence know that every failure carries with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. They seem to enjoy insurance against failure. No matter how many times they are defeated along the way, they know their eventual arrival at the top of the ladder will occur. They accept defeat as nothing more than temporary. They look at the punishment of defeat as a spur to greater and greater effort. There is an exciting and irresistible power about someone who fights on in the face of discouragement. Persistence, however, is simply a state of mind that can be cultivated like any other. The opposite of persistence is the fear of criticism. The majority of people permit their relatives, friends, and the public at large to influence them to the point they can't live their own lives for fear of criticism. They may refuse to take a chance in business for fear of the criticism that will follow if they fail. The fear of criticism in those cases is stronger than the desire for success. The application of persistence makes the breaks you need to become a success. There are 4 steps to develop persistence. 1. A definite purpose, not a vague wish or blurry feeling. This is an actual, specific goal backed by an intense desire to achieve. 2. A written plan, expressed in continuous action. 3. A closed mind, closed to negative suggestions and influences. 4. A friendly alliance, the mastermind group where you can be encouraged and helped. Mastering these 4 steps means you can write your own ticket and make life yield whatever price you ask. A study of the achievements of numerous successful people shows that persistence, concentration of effort, and definiteness of purpose are the major sources of achievement. 13. The mystery of sex transmutation main idea. Transmute means to change one form of energy into another. Sex transmutation means the switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of another nature. Supporting ideas, sex desire is the strongest of all human desires, therefore, it can be the strongest of all motivational forces. When harnessed, This motivating force unleashes powerful creative forces, keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability. The pages of history are full of great leaders, whose achievements can be traced directly to the influence of their wives, who aroused the creative faculties of their minds. The history of the future will doubtless be filled with the achievements of women, inspired by their husbands. Interestingly, history also records the individuals who, on achieving success, discarded their wives and began a decline into obscurity and defeat. Sex energy is the creative energy of all geniuses. There never has been, and never will be, a great leader, builder, or artist lacking in the driving force of sex. However, mere possession of this energy is not sufficient. The energy must be transmuted or transferred from a desire for physical contact into some other form of desire and action before it will lift a person to the status of a genius. The world is ruled, and the destiny of civilization determined, not by reason, but by feelings. The creative faculties of the mind are set into action by emotion. All other stimulants combined are not as powerful as the driving power of sex. Seldom does anyone enter a highly creative period of their lives until they reach the age of 40. The most successful people in history have by and large been aged between 40 and 50. This is due to the fact that generally speaking between the age of 30 and 40, men begin to learn the art of sex transmutation, when the emotion of love tempers the power of the emotion of sex. People become capable of great achievement, guided by sanity and reason, when romance is added to the mix. An otherwise ordinary person can almost be lifted to the power of a genius. The emotions of love, romance, and sex are the sides of the eternal triangle of achievement-building genius. Memories of true love never pass. They linger, guide, and influence you long after you are no longer with the person you love. Man's greatest motivating force is his desire to please women. In fact, this inherent desire of men to please women gives women the power to make or break a man. Men, who may be giants with indomitable willpower when dealing with other men, are easily managed by the women of their choice. 14. The subconscious mind main idea. The subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness in which every thought impulse that reaches the subconscious through any of the five senses is classified and recorded. From this vast collection, thoughts can then be recalled or withdrawn. Supporting ideas, the subconscious filing process is completely automatic. You only have control over the thought under consideration. Everything else happens completely automatically. You can't entirely control your subconscious, but you can voluntarily hand over to it any plan, desire, or purpose which you wish to have transformed into concrete form. This is done through autosuggestion. The subconscious never remains idle. If you don't provide input, it will even make up its own ideas to act on. Everything man creates begins in the form of a thought impulse. Man cannot create anything he has not first conceived in thought. Through the imagination, thoughts are assembled into plans that lead to success. The subconscious is more susceptible to impulses of thought when mixed with intense feelings or emotions. In reality, only thoughts mixed with emotions, positive or negative, have an active influence on the subconscious. There are 7 positive major emotions and 7 major negative emotions. The negatives voluntarily inject themselves into your thoughts. The positives must be purposely placed there through autosuggestion. The more intense the emotions, the more rapidly the transformation from thought impulse into reality will occur. The major positive emotions are 1. Desire. 2. Faith. 3. Love. 4. Sex. 5. Enthusiasm. 6. Romance. 7. Hope. The major negative emotions are 1. Fear. 2. Jealousy. 3. Hatred. 4. Revenge. 5. Greed. 6. Superstition. 7. Anger. Positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the mind simultaneously. If you habitually choose the positive, there will be no room for the negative. Key thought: anybody can wish for riches, and most people do. but only a few know that a definite plan, plus a burning desire for wealth, are the one dependable means of accumulating wealth. 15. The 6 ghosts of fear. Main idea. The master key which unlocks the door to life's bountiful riches is the privilege of creating in your mind a burning desire to achieve. The satisfaction that comes to all who conquer self and force life to pay whatever is asked is of overwhelming proportion. Supporting ideas, there are 6 basic fears everyone suffers from at one stage or another. Man can't create anything which he does not first conceive in the form of thought. Man's thoughts immediately begin to translate themselves into their physical equivalent, whether those thoughts are voluntary or involuntary. Random thoughts picked up by chance have just as much influence as those created by desire and intent. Therefore, every human being has the ability to control their thoughts. This in turn leads to control of physical situations. 1. The fear of poverty. This is a state of mind that can destroy one's chances of achievement. Unchecked, this fear paralyzes reasoning faculties, destroys imagination, kills self, undermines enthusiasm, discourages incentive, leads to uncertainty, encourages procrastination, and wipes out enthusiasm. Symptoms include indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, or procrastination. Beat the fear of poverty by reaching a mental decision to get, along with whatever level of wealth you can accumulate without excessive worries. 2. The fear of criticism. The fear of criticism robs man of initiative, destroys the power of imagination, limits individuality, and takes away criticism plants fear and resentment in the human heart, rather than love or affection. Symptoms of the fear of criticism include self-consciousness, a lack of poise, wishy-washy personality traits, an inferiority complex, extravagance, lack of initiative, or a lack of ambition. Overcome the fear of criticism by reaching a decision not to worry about what anyone else says, does, or thinks about you. Become immune to others' worries. 3. The fear of ill health. Most people fear ill health because of the terrible picture they may have planted in their minds of death and its consequences. The fear of disease, even when there is not the slightest cause for fear, produces the physical symptoms of the disease feared most. Specific symptoms of the fear of ill health include negative use of autosuggestion, hypochondria, lack of exercise, susceptibility to ill health, intemperance, or self-coddling. Leave the fear of ill health behind by deciding to forget those symptoms and by clearing your life of non-prescription medicines. 4. The fear of loss of love, jealousy, and many other similar types of neuroses have grown out of the fear of loss of love of someone. Many people are afraid that they will lose their love to someone with a more attractive packet of benefits on offer. Master the fear of loss of love by reaching a decision to get along without love for an indefinite period, if necessary. 5. The fear of old age. This fear means that people justify a lack of achievement due to reaching some age they have set as a boundary in their own minds. In reality, man's most useful years throughout history have been between the ages of 40 and 60. Eliminate the fear of old age by reaching a decision to accept old age not as a handicap, but as a great blessing which carries with it wisdom, self-control, and understanding never known to youth. 6. The fear of death. The thought of eternal punishment has a way of putting a damper on one's enthusiasm for life. In fact, it actually makes being reasonably happy impossible. The world is made up of only 2 things, matter and energy. Neither can be created or destroyed, only transformed. Therefore, death can be considered merely as a transition from one state to another. Eliminate worry about death with a burning desire to achieve, combined with a mature acceptance that eventually everyone dies. How to protect yourself against negative influences. You can protect yourself against all negative influences by building a mental wall of immunity. Do this by 1. Recognizing you are susceptible to suggestions harmonizing with the 6 basic fears. 2. Be vigilant to people who discourage you by trying to use any of the 6 basic fears. 3. Deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act for yourself. 4. Never expect troubles, as they have a tendency not to disappoint. 5. Close your mind to the negative influences of other people. Your business in life is to achieve success. To be successful, you must find peace of mind, acquire the material needs of life, and, most of all, attain happiness. All of these facets of success begin first in the form of thought impulses. You alone have the power to decide what to think about. This in turn gives you alone the power to influence, direct, and eventually control your own environment, making your life exactly what you want it to be. Alternatively, you can neglect to exercise your privilege, thereby casting your life on the broad sea of circumstances. Men who accumulate great riches always protect themselves against the negative influences of people they happen to come across. The poverty-stricken never do this. You protect yourself through willpower, and by setting up habits for counteracting the negative influences that assail you. See things as they really are. Control your thoughts. Clear out the medicine chest of your mind. Deliberately seek the company of people who will influence you to think and act for yourself. In the final analysis, you either control your mind or it will control you. If you keep busy with a definite purpose, backed by a definite plan, your mind will continually work to bring that plan into existence.